of Caballo in Usyk, and I think Caballo will beat Usyk. I think he will beat Usyk. I think that he's too old. I seen aged like vinegar, not like wine tonight. I seen that. See, Caballo wouldn't give in shit. He had to take it. Don't ask for what you can't take. So he took it. So keep that in mind, man, when you're talking about Caballo. Put some respect on Caballo's name. Yeah, Rico did a lot better than he was supposed to. Yeah, he got ripped off at the end. Yes, yes, and yes. I agree with all that. But at the same time, Kurt, you said Usyk would win, then you said Rico would win. I don't know what you're talking about. I never fucking said Rico would win. You never heard me say that. I said Rico is winning because he was winning. Rico got robbed. Amazing Usyk. What if Caballo looks funny in the Usyk fight and can't land his body shots? Well, that'll be a different story, but let's see the fight. That's a lot of what ifs. Usyk should hit the retire button if he don't want to get beat. If he don't want to get beat, if he wants to go out like Floyd or Money Mayweather. Kurt didn't say Rico will win. I did not yet. I don't. People are trying to put words in my mouth, and it's already frustrating. You know, they want me to crash out.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is Counterpunch Boxing, still live streaming, even after the fight ended about 20 or so minutes ago as I'm recording this podcast. And yeah, I'll listen to the rest of that live stream as time goes on, even though he might already be done already. But yeah, no one heard him said anything. Like, yes, he did say Rico was winning, but he didn't say that he believes that Rico was going to win before the fight started. He just said Rico was winning when they were already fighting. When it comes to me, hey, I put my money on Rico to win. And that's the truth. You know, this world is crazy. It's like 2 days ago, NASCAR driver Kyle Busch, after winning his last ever truck race about a week ago in Dover, and then comes out and we're still trying to understand how he passed away. And I just hope his brother Kurt Busch is doing okay as well. And seeing how it ended tragically for a NASCAR driver to go down like that, even as the playoffs were already gone. And now Richard Childress has to find a new racer, and their son, Austin Dillon, is still involved in the hangout, even though the playoffs are done. And with everything happening here, and now we're having all this talk about Usyk should retire. But you look at the other information, yeah, there's more to it than meets the eye. So with that being said, guys, welcome to the 25th episode of Mr. Gloat. And to be honest, as I'm recording this, all I could say is my heart was pumping. And even though I put $15 on the line for the main event by Rico winning by split decision, I almost had it. Well, the scorecards tell a different story, but that's not the point. Glory in Giza. With Spencer Brown as Gold Star Promotion, Eddie Hearn from Matchroom, and Sergey Lapine from Ready to Fight Promotion, with matchmaker Tom Dallas, live on DAZN pay-per-view of the Egyptian Professional Boxing Association, with only a quarter of a mile away from the towers of the pyramids. It's crazy. Maybe not a quarter of a mile, but I'll be honest though, this environment was 10 times better than Times Square. And even though I wanted to make this podcast as quick as possible, like 40 to an hour, it's crazy. So let's get on with the preliminary fights as we speak. Malik Scott and Todd Grissom were part of the commentary. One of them was play-by-play. And there are a lot of interesting moments. I did wrote a lot of stuff down on my notes for the preliminary fights, but I didn't wrote enough information about any of the fights on the main card. But all in all, the fights went on from 10 a.m. and the show ended around 7 p.m. And it took them even a little bit longer, like almost a half an hour, when the ring walks should have happened a while ago. So there was a lot of talk about everything else coming through here. This fight, this entire show, every single boxing fight was the best. This has to be one of the greatest shows of all time, and I enjoy every bit of it for what it is. So the preliminary fight, Omar Hikal versus Michael Kelyalele. So the first couple rounds of the fight were much interesting to talk about. Omar had the stuff getting into himself. He was a great debut fighter for himself. I didn't watch much of it as much because I didn't stand around to watch a fight yet until during the last minute of the second round. So I managed to come watching it live, which was free at the time as we speak. But we stuck around for it until I went to the third round. The third round just had great start moments. It was a great fight, and watching the first rounds was a good start. It was a good 4-round fight. It was a quick-paced fight for everyone. A debut fighter trying to get his first victory. Omar came in against a 3-4-2 fighter and had his great debut start. He came out of nowhere, scored a perfect heavy punch, and with only a minute into the third round, he stops him by KO to earn the first victory. It was a great ending to a good start of the fight. This was a great way to start off the show with a great knockout in the preliminaries. And even though we don't get a lot of knockouts in preliminaries and crazy moments as much, this preliminary show has to be one of the best shows I've ever enjoyed. And I give this match an 8 out of 10. It was a great 4-star match, in my opinion, for a debut fighter coming into the show, starting out big, making an example for himself in his first ever fight live on DAZN pay-per-view, and that right there is a great start. It's a good opener. It's a good start. I think it starts out as a great show. It was a great fast-paced show that started out with our debut fighter building up his show, and this might be the best rookie fighter of the night here. It was a great win. All in all, it was a great fight, and it started out great. So it was not bad. The second fight on the show, Mohammed Mabruk Yahya versus Ali Kuma. Ali Kuma, Sirakuma, if you pronounce it, from Uganda, with a 2-3-1 record. Not much like Michael from Tanzania. So most of these fighters were from Africa, and one of them is from the country of Indonesia, which is pretty cool. This fight right here was another debut for our fighter, Mohammed, and this is what I wrote down for the fight. So the first round of the fight, it was just a great starting off fight. Mohammed was throwing out great body punches downstairs, upstairs, right. He threw the perfect right to the head at one point. There was a moment where he actually threw a perfect right punch right into the equilibrium of Ali. And then for some reason, he tried to swing for our left, but missed. So it caught Ali right here. So he actually clotheslined him to the canvas. Even though Todd did stated it, when they looked at the replay of the fight, it was a textbook knockout. But the referee that goes by the name of Andriy Chevaliov from the country of Belarus counted it as a slip, because I guess even though maybe he did saw the right punch, but the left one, because you could see the arm of it, was the one that clotheslined Ali to the canvas. So he didn't count it as a knockout, unfortunately, because of that. But for reasons I don't know why Malik Scott and Todd Grissom didn't point that out. Again, yes, it was a good punch to the equilibrium, but again, that left might have been the cause for the reason. So I can't blame the referee for that. It was still a good round, good first round for Muhammad. But of course, when he was putting in, he was trying to make a statement. And even the announcers at the time were pointing that out. By the end of the first round, his team were telling him to not go for it, play it smart, just put some rounds into the fight. You don't have to go for a knockout. He was even telling him to just not go for it. The second round was pretty fun. Muhammad decided to put out his new style, which is yelling. I love that during the part of the fight, halfway through the fight of the second round, the announcer, Todd Grisham, points out, quote, stating that Muhammad is yelling like a tennis player, which is kind of funny because every time in the round of every fight of this round, maybe the first round as well, every time Muhammad goes for a punch as much, he just goes for it like he's schwacking the tennis ball. He's going, ah! 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 So he's going crazy every time he throws a punch, which is funny enough. Like, Muhammad is making this fight more entertaining, but not good for himself because at one point, Ali throws a perfect right, Deontay Wilder, clipping it with his glove like this, and digging him right into the face of Muhammad. It was a perfect right, probably a good right. Even there was a moment where the ref is trying his best to control the fight, and he even warns him for holding. And there were times in the first couple rounds that there were moments of holding and other moments for the fight, so it was pretty much it. As said, the announcers point out how entertaining this fight is, and I'm loving every bit of it. This is a pretty good fight for what it is. We go to round 3, and it goes so fast with Muhammad throwing and putting in good punches. And as he does it, 40 seconds left of the fight into the third round, a huge right from Ali connects perfectly right into Muhammad. And then, like, around the time left, as for another holding, 15 seconds left of the fight, the referee stops him and gives him a 1-point deduction for reason. I later pointed out that the announcers pointed out, and even Malik pointed out, that he did warn Ali for holding. Only once. The problem is, I get it, it's a 4-round fight, and they don't want their debut fighter, which both of these guys are from their country, because, like I said before, Omar is from Egypt, just like Muhammad, so they're both in their debut, so I can understand if the ref did that intentionally, but it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. So the fight ends like that, crazy, and crazy enough for the round, because the fourth and final round would be another good round for Muhammad. So even though I had a 9-9 score for round 3, the fourth and final round was pretty close enough. It was a close round, but at the end of the day, it wasn't much of my cooking that got the best of it, because the fight ended. I had the score 38-37 in my opinion. Ali got the fight at the end, and he did got the third round clearly. Ali did put on a good show in the final fighter, taking out the debut, and mostly for Muhammad, he was putting out hards. There were great straight double rights. Both fighters throwing everything they had. Then the announcers point out that they're turning it into a street fight. It ends with Kuma landing punches and Muhammad throwing wild punches, and it was a close, entertaining, controversial fight. Unfortunately, the judges, 2 of them had it 40-35, but one judge did have 38-37 for Muhammad, and the announcers didn't argue much about it. They just said, well, it is what it is. Yeah, there are times where close, and even due to the controversy of the third round, hey, we have to put some controversy in some fights of the preliminary. So this fight was pretty damn entertaining. It was funny, the yelling, it was good. I give this match an 8 out of 10. Another 4-star match. This was pretty damn good. And believe it or not, the third match on this show is better. Sotin Ala Muhammad versus Dedi Imprax. So Sotin, making his debut in September last year during the card of Canelo and Crawford, comes out, goes to Riyadh in November, and takes on with the Brian Norman and Devin Haney card. And then in April, he went to Totem, involved in the Tyson Fury and Arslanbek Makhmadov fight. So his 3 fights have been great shows as we speak, and this is his 4th one. Dedi, on the other hand, as the announcers do point this out, that he did fought 2 fights in 2020. One of them was a decision, close, and a second round KO, his only knockout. And then he never fought again until 2023, and he left his country of Indonesia. He lost against guys such as Kazim Soya, Zhujiang Li, who was an 0-2 fighter in 2023, and that guy got him a third round TKO against him. Crazy. And the round 2 knockout against Soy. Alex Naman, who was in 1-0 fighter in 2024, got a second round KO. Third round KO by Sam Rennie in March of 2025. And after 14 months of being out of the ring, Dedi is back at 39 years old, taking on Sultan. So Dedi has gone past 1 round of every single fight in his 6 fights of the first round. The announcers point out, quote, as he's walking to the ring, stating, quote, going the distance would be a victory for Dedi. And I agree. Going 4 rounds the distance with a guy dangerous like Sultan could be crazy. So this was actually going to be crazy enough. But I don't think none of us would expect the fight to go the distance. But the fight itself was crazy because both fighters start to go into first gear and adjusting out. We get some great punches, jabs, and by punches to Sultan. And then coming into the first minute of the fight, he sets up a right. Dedi exposes his entire organs, and Sultan goes out right. And then he sets up a perfect hook of a left hook body punch, sending Dedi down to the canvas with a quick first round knockout. And the referee counts it to 10 as Dedi cannot get back up. He tries not to get back up. They count it to 10. And at this moment, the fight ends quickly. This makes me happy. Why? Because we're this close for the title fights. So I'm going to give this fight an 8 out of 10 as well, because this is a great way to start off the preliminaries. These preliminary fights is what we should see. Knockouts, wild moments, and just great moments. These are KOs we're looking at. They're going for 10s, not fighters waving the fight off. That's how damn good this is. And before the last prelim fight, as we're speaking, the sun is setting in Giza, and it's 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where I live. And the commentators are pointing out the sun is going down. We're 45 minutes before the first fight of the main card happens at 1 o'clock p.m. And at this one moment, we're just coming around the end. So they're just going to have a moment, depending if they don't go 6 rounds for this fight, because the next fight is Bassem Madou versus Jamar Tawi. And Jamar Tawi enters the ring first with a 6-0 record, taking on 10-2 fighter Bassem, who in his 2 losses, he lost against a guy that was a 9-0 fighter in 2022, got him beat in round 2 by KO. He did become an Egyptian light heavyweight champion the next year after that, but then lost the title a year later against a guy named Abdu Khaled, a 10-5-1, which the fight ended in a round 4 cornerman retirement stoppage after the end of round 4. So those are the 2 losses for this guy's career. So at this moment, Jamar Tawi, if he could go 2 rounds and win by knockout, I say this is a great fight as well. It's pretty good. By the way, as Jamar is entering the ring first, as he's doing it, one of the announcers points out, quote, that in BoxRec, Tawi actually scored a first-round knockout in 4 seconds, and there's no footage of the fight. And as they're joking about it, talking about, how the referee might have stopped the fight early, and then they say, well, it's on the record, so it has to happen. It has to be a real record there. Just to assume that BoxRec did confirm the fight was real, and even though it does show in BoxRec. And I was confused by that. So when I looked up Jamar Tawi, his second pro fight against a guy named Keshawn Miner did end in 4 seconds by the first round by a referee named Tom Milley, who, fun fact, Tom Milley actually judged the first pro fight in February 2025 with Jamar Talley's debut against a 1-3 fighter. Yeah, so Tom Milley judged his first fight and then reffed his second fight in 4 seconds. That's crazy. The remainder of the fights were great. He took on a 3-0 fighter in his third pro fight named Kern Fleming, a 9-8-3 fighter of Anthony Holloway, who was a decent journeyman fighter, and another fight in a round 2 KO, a KO win in February just this year against Devontae Williams, a 13-3 fighter, not bad. So now he comes in, he throws in leather, and when I say he throws in leather, he did a good job. The first round is just good. I give this fight an 8 out of 10 as well. I give all these matches 4 stars out of 5 for what they are. Talley starts the fight off with feinting, dancing, and bouncing around. And even though he's connecting jabs to the body, putting out perfect right hand shots. And there was a moment in round 3 where the crowd started cheering crazy when Bassem started attacking back at one point, which got the crowd hooked on, and they got to cheer and applauding with their fighter because Bassem, which, fun fact, looking them up, yes, Bassem is from Egypt, so the crowd gets the great applause for that, and that got my heart warming when they cheered him on. And but again, Talley is out punching him, pulling out every second of the fight. The round comes to an end when Bassem decides to throw a Deontay Wilder right and misses it by a mile. Ding, ding, 10 seconds later. And then, before we're coming into round 2, the announcers are also talking about, mostly about the start of round 2 before they start it. Before round 2 starts, they have not Jack Catterall, but Daniel Lapine and Benjamin Tani getting their hands wrapped for the start of the first fight in the main show as we're speaking, and they're getting ready. They even talk about Jack Catterall and shakram fight. They even have Eddie Hearn after the fight and during the end of the fight, with the last 20 minutes of them just talking into the sun while the sun is setting, and Eddie Hearn still has his glasses on, talking about the Verhoeven fight and everything else, and, do you think Jack Catterall will win? Not one moment in any of the show, people are talking about Mizuki Hiruda and May Sullivan. Why are people not talking about the women of boxing? That moment still upsets me to this day. But anyway, they're talking about the first fight that's going to be on the show. Go buy your pay-per-view. Go buy it. These are just the prelims of the fight. If you want to see the entire show, buy DAZN, buy the pay-per-view right now. So the second round comes in, and we're not even 10 seconds into the round where Talley attacks Bassem, pushes him into the ropes, and then he goes to the other side of the ropes and then clinches him again, goes to the other side. Talley starts throwing heavy punches. With 1 minute and 50 seconds after the fight, Bassem seems he's in trouble. He's getting pushed to the ropes, but he's still surviving out there as best he could. Until 30 seconds later, with only halfway through the second round, Talley lands a perfect body punch, and Bassem, just like how Sotin body punched Dedi in the first round, Bassem takes a knee, and he takes a knee while Dedi in the fight, he just went down the ground just aching in pain. Dedi just stays in the canvas with one knee, holding his liver, and the ref counts all the way to 10 while Bassem just stays there, hurt in pain, to close the fight, to end the preliminary fights as quickly as possible with 2 body shot KOs in one preliminary round show. One preliminary show in the same night. That's an 8 out of 10. What a way to end the show, and a good job for them to interview Eddie Hearn and everyone else. Get onto the show, wake him up, and that's how it ends. So all in all, that was a great show for preliminaries, and that's how we end it. So it was great. This was a great show. It was a great preliminary show. I love every bit of it for what it is. It was actually like a great story-filled moment, and I was just so excited for how all these performances are, because looking back at it, you could say to yourself that these people like the preliminary shows are the best I've ever seen in a long time, because the preliminary shows aren't much to be watched about other than to just take us downtown and just we're just being patient, just waiting for the openers, getting people to come in to watch the show. And even though crowded in seats do come slowly, so we got to respect that, but all in all, it was a great preliminary show. And even though we're 25 minutes into this podcast, we're not even halfway through. Like, the entirety of this show becomes more damn good than it is. So around 1 o'clock, we're finally getting the show started. Daniel Lapine versus Benjamin Mendez. Daniel Lapine, just like Shakram and Usyk, are both Ukrainian fighters and both undefeated fighters with records. Man, oh man, the Ukrainians are not doing so well this night. It wasn't there. And by the way, the referee's name for this is a guy named Dendrix Tapdasan from the Philippines. So I can't say much about him. Oh, and by the way, as for the other referees refereeing the preliminaries, a guy named Tyran Fakshala Dawn became the referee for the Sotin fight, first round knockout. And again, Mohammed and versus Ali was the Andrei Chevelyov, who we just talked about the point abduction. And of course, Tyran Dawn also refed out the round 3 knockout against the debut fighter of Omar. And the Bassem and Tali fight was also Andrei Chevelyov as well. So only 2 referees ref 2 fights each. So this is another referee that's now getting into the show. Daniel Lapine, with his curly hair, it's so crazy. I almost thought he looked like Danny Noonan from Caddyshack, but part of his other hair swept the other way, not showing much of his hair, kind of told a different side. So I was way off. His hair is a lot more smaller. The Ukrainian people are celebrating their fighters with their Ukrainian flags in the air, but man, the Ukrainians are not going to have a happy night. The first round of the fight started out, and Daniel Lapine, this tall fighter, was going to put on a show. Not much. By the way, this was for the IBF Intercontinental and WBO International Light Heavyweight Championship. Again, Benjamin is a French fighter, and his pro loss came back in 2023 against a 4-0 fighter named Valdi Totin, which ended in a 6-round fight, but with some people believing that there was a knockout in one of the fights. So 2 judges had 57-56 and 158-55. So judging scores were close due to a knockout. So Benjamin lost the fight closely. So, of course, this fight would almost mean that if Daniel Lapine wins this fight by knockout, this could be a good win for him, because no one managed to beat Benjamin dominantly. The fight was a little bit of a sloppy turnaround. There were some clinches. There were headlock at one point that Daniel did headlock Benjamin in the first round. And again, Daniel Lapine, he's so damn tall as a light heavyweight, but he's so skinny at the same time. Even his French opponent, I can't. Let me repeat that again. Mendez from France, his muscles are more bigger and better than Daniel. But again, the first round was a good round for Daniel. He was dancing around, starting off with jabs, putting on a good pressure for him in the first round. It was a good start for it. And there was a moment in round 2 of the fight, I guess, or maybe in round 2, where there was a moment that Daniel did lost his balance and held on from Benjamin. Then he hit the canvas, only for the referee to count as a slip. And Tani was already a little bit questioned by that, but I really can't say much about that as much. But again, there wasn't much of a sloppy fight other than clinching and such, and there were grabs and holds, and the referee's trying his best to put himself together. Again, it was a good start for a first fight for sloppiness. These guys were so aggressive when it came to clinching that it made people wonder, how long is this fight going to last? And you know what? I was happy this fight wasn't going to last very much. The clinching and everything might have not been a problem. Again, the second round did have moments for both, stunning each other. Again, the first couple rounds when it came to to jabbing and holding, and Daniel going clockwise the entire fight of the second round from going the entire way. And then sometimes he'll go counterclockwise in the second round at one point and turn around and then get grabbed and then get pushed and get another clinch. And so mostly Benjamin was on the entirety of the offensive, while the defensive side was for Daniel. So the clockwise and counterclockwise were mostly the thing for Daniel, even coming into the second round as well. It was not much of a round for me to depend on who you ask by default. But again, I can't really say for certain by all means necessary. All in all, it was a pretty decent fight for the start, but coming into round 3 wasn't much of an effective. Like, it was an even round for some. It was hard for me to judge for Benjamin. Might have won that third round, and even the second round as well was close enough. There were some moments pushing headbutts into the third, but man, oh man, when he came in, and by the way, the third round was also another moment when it came to clockwise as well, and other moments. I think that was the third round I was talking about, mostly the second round. But coming into the fourth round of the fight, the moment comes. Benjamin goes down low, as always. It almost looks like Daniel is about to grab him and put him in the headlock. But then he gets back up, puts a clinch on him, throws him through the ropes, throws on the left, and then they both go straight into a merry-go-round. He sets up a right punch. Down goes Daniel, and he counts him on, counting to 7. He gets up at the count of 8. His face is getting a little bit red here. The Ukrainian crowd are not liking what they're seeing here, and they're not going to like what their next fighter is going to do in the co-main event. But Benjamin shoots out from body punches. He throws 2 more body punches, and down goes Daniel for the second time. He counts from 6, 7. He gets back from 8. He's taking it back up. He's not trying to give up. But the referee lets him continue. Is it a 3 knockdown rule? It might as well, because Benjamin throws out a left. He throws a right. He goes for another. He goes for a 2-punch and 3-punch combination. And then Daniel's trying to throw a couple of his own, but no effective. We're getting 2, 3, 4 more body punches. And Daniel tries to set up a left, connects it to Benjamin, but it doesn't hurt him. Benjamin is still there. He throws him. He's pushing him to the ropes. He's throwing him right into the corner. He's throwing everything he's got at him, from a right, left, upstairs, and another. He goes more body punches. He throws it. He shoves him to the other side of the corner and sets him up with another finishing blow as the fight ends with him pushing him to the ropes with more body punches. And Daniel misses a right, and Benjamin sets up another right cross, I guess. And down goes Daniel, and the referee waves the fight out while Benjamin does a celebrating backflip victory. Round 4, TKO victory for Benjamin at 1 minute and 35 seconds. I give this fight an 8 out of 10. 4-star match. The reason I'm not going 4.5 out of this, or even 9 out of 10, is that I wouldn't say that these are matches to be remembered. But in all honesty, this one, again, even though the bloodiness and even though the clinching was the problem, but seeing an underdog winner here defeat a Ukrainian fighter like that is crazy enough. I gotta give Benjamin credit. He is ranked now number 46 in the rankings. And even though he was 174.5 in this fight, and Daniel Lapine was 173 3/4, even though he was born in Poland, living in Ukrainian, and even though he's a 6'6" southpaw fighter, and Benjamin, I assume that he's an orthodox fighter, but BoxRec doesn't show that. But again, being 6 feet tall, taking out a 6'6" Polish fighter living in Ukrainian like that and ending it like that, that's almost, and believe me, Daniel Lapine, if he was a few inches more taller, I would almost think he looked like Elegante as Giant Gonzalez from WWE without the gorilla body. You guessed it. This fight was so damn good. I was so surprised. It was a great underdog story for Benjamin, And I hope for the French people, this will give them their break. This was a win to not be forgotten, and I enjoyed every bit of it. This fight rocked me like never before, and I liked it, every bit of it. But guess what? This might not be my favorite fight to talk about, because the next fight on the show, in my opinion, has to be one of the greatest female boxing fights of all time. And I say this has to be the fight of the night of the award. The fight of the night. 10 rounds of distance, a quick fight like no one ever done before. This fight was the best. Mizuki Hiruda versus May Sullivan. I've already gave out my predictions. I've talked about who was going to win and how tough this fight was going to be. Talking about that even though May Sullivan has barely won fights by decision. So this could be one of them as well. And maybe Hiruda could barely win the fight. Not a knockout victory, so you could tell. And even though May Sullivan was ranked in the top 10, again, her winnings and such and her barely winning fights doesn't make her a top 10 fighter. Even her last fight was barely a win. So I really can't say for certain. I had the fight winning 7 rounds to 3. Even though I did give rounds 4 and rounds 8 and also round 5 for May. Again, I almost did actually gave round 9 to May as well. So I actually did change I actually did one on live stream from DAZN Boxing and also a YouTuber at the time. I forgot his name again. He was involved in the commentary booth. Just for fun, his YouTube channel is called Showbiz the Adult. And I did say the fight was 7-3, but looking back at the fight scores, it was close enough to only be a 96-94 fight. So I only had 6 rounds scored for Mizuki. Maybe barely 7 rounds, I would guess, which I did. And looking back at, yeah. But the judging had it differently. Again, May Sullivan having her looks and how she didn't move a muscle for her memory when the announcer announced her name, and Mizuki with her blue hair holding herself together, smiling and taking it right into the entire world. Mizuki Hiruda, Fighter of the Year. This is one fight. This is her 7th title defense as we speak. And I have to say, Mizuki Hiruda. Now, of course, I knew that this wasn't going to go knockout for Mizuki, but for May, it could go knockout. So I was really worried about Mizuki here, by all means necessary. It seemed like there was going to be more to it, and I'm not going to get into this fight as much, but the fight starts out as this. As a celebrating fighter, she has the heart, she has the soul. So like I said before, I had the rounds won it. Mizuki winning round 1, round 2. She had round 3, round 5, round 6, as I had it, and round 7, and round 10. The first few rounds were just utter punching abilities. Like, even though May had moments in the fight, she was throwing out power punches in the fight. Oh, and by the way, it was actually a female referee that goes by the name. The female referee's name was Melva Santos. Again, the fight started off with Mizuki just leading out with great starting punches in the fight. And it was the first round for people just starting up the first gear. May wasn't throwing out as much in the fight, clinching, body punches, and the first 3 rounds was all that. Like, Mizuki Hiruda knew how to throw out landing body punches, and the body punches were helping her winning rounds in the fight the entire time. And people weren't paying attention to those as much. Even Showbiz was mostly losing his mind, showing power punches from May Sullivan more than ever, making us believe that Mizuki wasn't winning any of the rounds. Again, the judging scorecards is not accurate, but the judging scorecards in this fight were far better than Ellie Scottney versus Mayeli Flores. Oh, yeah, and by the way, the referee, Mark Lyson, that ref that fight, also ref the main event fight. And that one is going to be something of a doozy to talk about. So, of course, they come out, guns blazing like never before. And again, Mizuki was off a Pacquiao standard. She wasn't a power puncher. And after watching this fight, I could tell that Mizuki, it wasn't about winning fights by knockout. And it kind of stinks because 5 of her 11 pro fights came by the way of knocking out her opponent. And she only managed to successfully defeat fighters by knockout twice. And 3 of those fighters gone the distance. Similar like Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields only knocked down 5 of her opponents in her career, and only 3 of them were legit knockouts. One early into 2020 due to her first fight in a super welterweight, and the heavyweight undisputed against Daniel Perkins. And by the way, Hannah Gabriel scored a knockout on Clarissa Shields, the only knockout by Shields in her entire fight. And Mizuki Hiruta got knocked out by Terumo Nuki in her second pro fight in the last couple rounds of their second fight, and she managed to survive that fight. So, yeah, this isn't the first time that Mizuki has gone in danger of the fight in her career. It's crazy. But, of course, when you come into the fight, they were laying out so much blood and guts. It was a bloody fight. So, come the 4th round of the fight, both May is finally putting in so much. And even though it was a more difficult fight for everyone, it was a lot of punching, and even though there's no clinching in the fight, this match was so damn exciting, it made everyone strong. No clinching in the fight, no nothing. It was just pure dominance. And if they wanted to throw a clinch just in case for safety, they would have. May comes into the 4th round, and even though Mizuki tries to throw in some punches here or there, and May is dodging, ducking, she lands a perfect outright, power punching right here or there. This is turning into a wild bloodfest war, and it only gets crazier by the minute. And even this fight card gets awesomer by the minute. She's putting in so much work. She slays it all in. She's putting out every power punch on Mizuki. Mizuki is taking them like a tough competitor. Not for long, but she's surviving it. She's taking it. And the jabs from May are so amazing. Again, the punching and the jabs might not be as much, but she takes it like a man in a mission. And to be honest, they're both girls, but both of them are taking these punches like a boxing match. It is. They both have wild chins in their. I just don't know how to explain it. May just comes in. The crowd is cheering. The crowd's going crazy. Showbiz is going crazy. And by the 5th round, May is finally putting into it for Mizuki. Mizuki's face is getting a little bit bruised up. And even a little bit for May as well, but not more than Mizuki. And every power punch, setting up from uppercuts to a little bit of a 2-punch combination. And again, jabs from Mizuki are in the factor point. And May is dodging and ducking out some of the punching. And she is putting out everything she has. And by the end of the 5th round, this is turning into a wild snooze fest of craziness. This match is perfect. This match is so perfect, I would like to watch the Mountie and Tatanka a bunch of times when they both wrestled back in 1992 for how fun that match was. Ridiculous. I love it. That was a perfect match. This match is perfect as well. It's such a good match that it makes my nose itch. It's crazy. So coming into round 6 and round 7, Mizuki does manage to land out more punches in the fight as best she could to make sure that nothing gets happening for her in any needs. Every time Mizuki tries to go in for a front as best she could, May sometimes tries to connect in a punch and a power punch here or there. And there are times that body punches were a factor in the fight, and she even goes for perfect rights. This is turning into craziness. And even though Mizuki is not dodging out the punches as she should, which is something that her trainers should teach her to do, she's still putting in a good effort. These girls are putting in blood and sweat and tears, and the crowd is loving every damn bit of this fight. And I'm loving every bit of it because my heart's pumping, because I'm afraid that Mizuki is going to lose. And even coming into the championship rounds, even after round 7, while Mizuki was jabbing mostly and getting body punches, well, maybe not body punches as much, but jabs and more, and maybe a little bit of this or that in each of those rounds. But again, the power punches were on May. And the odds of judges might be giving it for May were possible. That's how crazy this fight was. And it was crazy. And by the way, by the end of round 7, the end of round 7, May sets up this amazing right on left hook, left jab here, and the bell rings after the right punch, and then she sets up another left punch right into the cheekbone of Mizuki, and Mizuki turns around and takes it while walking back to the ring after getting punched during the end of the round. This is unbelievable. This is perfect. And coming into the last 2 rounds of the fight were just so utterly dangerous. The 8th round became the most dominant round for May in the entire fight. And even though round 9 might have been the Mizuki round, but May was throwing in punches and hurting Mizuki, that I really believe that May might have won round 9 as well. But round 9 was the most dominant round for Mizuki. She lands a perfect right punch. The crowd is going crazy. She's losing her legs. Mizuki is just trying her best to recover as best she could. And Showbiz is still questioning that these fights should go 3 minutes, not 2 minutes of a round, for how fast these rounds are going, which is how Mizuki is handling herself. Just imagine if this fight was 3 minutes of each round. Again, May finally throws in a connected punch. And even though Mizuki did have moments in the fight where she was connecting punches, but again, May finally connects a punch. She's throwing, laying in, and it was just turning into a bloody snooze fest and connecting everything she has. And Mizuki is still going into it. There was a moment in the 9th round where they go for a punch, push into Mizuki ropes, and there was a clinch at one moment to it. They let go, and then Mizuki is losing her balance. She pushes her away after getting punched a bunch of times. And the crowd, this match is turning into a bloody snooze fest of craziness. And both these girls, the fans are getting their money's worth. And I don't know why the announcers, no one even talked about this fight being just a waste of time. This fight rocked like never before. This was a fight of a lifetime. And coming into the 10th and final round was even crazy enough because, again, the 8th round was just so out of it, just like the 9th round. And again, May was just on fire. Again, just like I said about the 9th round, there was a moment where May, around the time that she was throwing a good landing punch, but Mizuki would sometimes land 3 more punches more while May was landing a single punch. So there were moments where you could say to yourself, May won the round, but Mizuki was landing more, even though if there weren't harder punches. So you could say it's controversial in that way, and I can understand that. And even though I thought May might have had round 9 there, and my heart was pumping so much because I didn't want Mizuki to lose. I never wanted her to lose. My heart was pumping so fast. My heart was pumping so much that I was freaking out a lot more than my heart pumping during the main event of the show. And I'm going to explain why. Because I put my money on someone that I wanted to win. Even though I did felt that Usyk was going to win the fight. So my heart didn't care about pumping, never, even though my heart would have pumped if Usyk was knocked out. Either way, the 10th and final round comes in, and Mizuki finally comes in. She does manage to land punches here and there for some moments of the fight, and she just outboxes her opponent, and she does try to run away from the entirety of that last round of the fight, just going clockwise and counterclockwise. They were just going around a circle motion. None of them were. Sometimes someone would go clockwise. Sometimes the other person would go counterclockwise. There was a moment in the 10th round when the referee told Mizuki to keep her head up when she went down and would have got punched in the back of the head at one point. So it wasn't all of a clean fight, but man, oh man, this fight was turning crazy. And by the way, there was a person holding on. There was actually someone in the crowd, I guess a boxer, was holding on to one of his championship belts in the background, with a black baseball cap on or something, wearing a ball cap, holding onto a championship belt while we're in the 10th and final round. And I was like, dude, get the heck out of there. We're in a championship bout for a unified championship bout here going on. Sheesh, care about the female fight, for crying out loud. These girls were the best. And the fight just ended so much. They go down the scorecards. Both girls wave it. They both hug it at the end. What a finish. Mizuki's face is bruised up. May does have moments of her face being bruised. I had the fight 97 and 93 at the time, but looking back at it, it was actually 96 and 94. And again, I wouldn't say the fight was a draw. Mizuki was more of a body puncher, but mostly a little bit of a upstairs puncher. There was a lot of upstairs punches as well. But if Mizuki was trying to work on body, then they would have. So there would have been moments for that. Unfortunately, two of the judges, named Alina and Diana, had it 98 to 92, and a guy named Drenrex Tapdosan had it 99 to 91. Winner by unanimous decision, Mizuki Hiruda. And again, at the end of the day, I can't say much about that. It is what it is, but it wasn't the worst ever. They did give rounds to May, and even though May might have not been wearing a lot of punches in that fight, you gotta give her credit. She was an aggressor of that fight. So even though we're now 51 minutes into this podcast right now, I think it's better to talk about Richard Torres versus Frank Sanchez. Oh, and by the way, Mizuki Hiruda also does a backflip. Even after she did her interview that she wanted to unify the titles, I love it. Mizuki Hiruda's interviews are so damn good. She should be a big star of the show. I'm happy that they finally put Mizuki Hiruda on a show on DAZN, which we can finally see full fight footage of her, because 2025 is a year where we can barely find some YouTube shorts and some video footages of her fight, and even just videos of people recording in the crowd. So it does upset me that there's no fight footages on YouTube that show her. So I'm happy we get to see her. This fight was so damn good. I give this fight a 10 out of 10. This is a 5-star match. I don't care what you say. That's all I have to say. So Frank Sanchez ranked number 3 IBF with Torres Jr. silver medalist at number 4. Whoever wins this might be ranked in the IBF, and if Rico Verhoeven wins, then we might have the IBF stripped and an IBF title vacancy on the line. So we might have Sanchez or Torres into it. Torres, the white hope for America, trying to get back to the American crowd. And Sanchez trying to come back after his 2-year fight against Caballel, which was not good. He took on a jobber last year ago, so it might not be good for him. But 33 years old, who knows? All I can say is this fight brought in some surprising moments in the fight for all high expectations. People had high hopes for Torres, and considering that being said, I can't. It does stink. It is what it is. And Torres, even though he had a better resume, people are saying that Torres was taking on nobodies. That's not true. At least he was fighting persistently every year, fighting fights after fights, while Frank Sanchez was only fighting one fight a year after his Caballel fight. And he took on a nobody last year ago. So there's no way. By the way, having Richard Torres having a mustache is just so out of it. I just couldn't. Never in a million years I could feel that. So I did had moments of just, this is just not going to be good. I just didn't find this to be really good for no reason. That's how bad this was. So the fight starts out, Torres at 14 wins, 12 knockouts. And Frank Sanchez 25-1, 18 knockouts for now. The first round of the fight, Torres is starting off with his perfect combinations. They're both going out of the first gear here. This heavyweight contest entertained the crowd so much. It got everyone on their feet for watching this fight. The referee's name is Albert Earl Brown. And of course, both guys study on. They throw wild combinations to each other. Sometimes Torres would push Sanchez, and then Sanchez would push him back. We do get a headlock at one moment, but then a clinch away. And the referee does warn Torres for that. And it's kind of weird because we also have Sanchez wearing this weird type of boxing shoes for some weird reason, where he was wearing, I don't know, he was wearing some ridiculous shoes for some reason, which I couldn't understand. Anyway, Torres starts out with great jabs in the fight, and they throw out some great starts in the round, and it was a good round for Torres. He won the first round, so something in my mind thought it was going to be a good fight. And I was expecting Sanchez to win by knockout in the 5th round or so, and it would have been a good fight. If this went 6 rounds of fight for how tough this fight was, I would have given this a 5-star match. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I wish this fight would have gotten the second gear a lot sooner, maybe until after the 2nd round or 3rd round. All we know is, like I said before, the 2nd round, I did said this before in the 2nd round, Torres does put a clinch on him. The referee warns him. And then they both go circle the clock to counterclockwise in the middle of the ring against each other, both in the middle of the ring. Torres dancing around, not knowing what to do first. He lets his left hand go. He throws a right. And then as he throws a right to connect on Sanchez, Sanchez sets up a right uppercut hook right there. And Torres hits the canvas, and the crowd has gone crazy. He tries to get back up. As the referee counts 6, he counts 7. Torres lands on his belly. He tries to get back up on the count of 8. As the referee counts 8, he's on to one knee. The referee counts 9. And as he counts it to 9, Torres finally tries to get his right foot on the canvas. But he gets up too quickly because he knows the referee is counting him right here to 8. So as he counts to 9, Torres finally decides to take a huge gamble on it to get back up quickly, and it doesn't work. He finally does try to get back up, but then he stumbles way to the right and hits the canvas again, just like Trevor Berbick with Mike Tyson in '86 during the heavyweight title fight, when Berbick tried to get back up again, slams his body to the ropes, gets back up and lands on the other side of the ring, and the referee weighs the fight out. Only Torres gets back up, but then hits the canvas again. Again, it was a 10 count. Referee weighs the fight out, and Sanchez celebrates his comeback from behind, screams out to the ropes, puts out a huge woo! And the crowd are amazed. I will give this fight 4.5 stars, a 9 out of 10. I wish this fight would have gone second gear, and you know what? It doesn't matter. The fight ended in knockout. After the Solomon and Mizuki Hiruda 10-round fight, which was a quick fight for what it is, this fight was crazy. It does upset me that this is now the end for America. It stinks that it stinks. Losing your first pro fight in a 2-round knockout in 2 rounds is bad enough. And even one guy in the comments named Trossel stated, "It's sad to see my childhood hero, Magnum P.I., venturing into boxing and getting swept in 2 rounds. Well, it is what it is, and it stinks that America in boxing is dead. It just stinks that there are some fans out there that really had moments. Even though Richard Torres, this is his 4th year in the pro, and this is how he graduated in his senior year of boxing. And not a good way to end it in high school for him here, because it kind of stinks. It really stinks to just see this go downhill like this for Torres, because the odds of you coming back from a loss like that in a round 2 is just not good. So it does upset me to see that. But I can't say much about that because it is what it is. But again, me talking about this all the time would be crazy. But again, It is what it is. Again, I will give this 4.5 stars because this was actually a good fight. I wish this went 4 rounds or even 6 rounds, and it would have been a moment there would have been bloody. If Torres did actually got Frank Sanchez hurt in maybe one of the other rounds of round 3 or 4, and then in round 5 or 6, Torres got knocked out the same way like he did in round 2, this would have been a 5-star match. It would have been great. Similar like if it would have been like I was expecting this fight to be like George Foreman coming back from his loss against Muhammad Ali and barely defeating a fighter that he barely won by a round 5 knockout, which was close. And that wasn't the case. No. So all right, we're only 1 hour into this podcast, and we only have 3 matches left. Jack Catterall versus Shakram Jaslov. This is a fight that just went the distance like never before. I will say though, it has moments. Jack Catterall scores a first round knockout against Shakram, and this is the moment where Shakram is another Ukrainian fighter. He doesn't get nothing done in this fight, and it is what it is. It is what it is, but I can't say much about it. There was moments for some people to believe that he would have had a chance. He did come back to try to make it through the remainder of some of the rounds, like in round 2 and 3. Jack Catterall decided to not go for the knockout because Shakram was getting a little bit more dangerous. In round 4, Shakram did actually come back to start connecting some good punches at one moment. Like I said, the knockout wasn't much. It was a perfect. The punch was like around 1 minute and 30 seconds of the round where he connected this and then a good left, and of course Shakram went on his butt but bounced on the canvas but got back up around the count of 3. So wasn't much. He survived the round. And by the way, he even threw Catterall to the ring at one point in the 4th round, as said before, when he actually bounced him onto the corner, and then he started putting in his own offensive in the 4th round. So he put on a good effort into the fight. And it looked like he was going to do a good job until round 5, but then in round 6 and round 5 and 6, it was mostly just heavy punches. Great, huge marks for Catterall, and even by the end of round 6, again, Shakram's face is starting to get hurt. The jabs, the lands. There was more jabs being thrown by Catterall in the fight than you can ever say. So that he was working on more jabs than ever. Again, he did try to be on the defensive side or grabs, holds. And there was one moment I thought there was going to be an elbow, but the round ended in round 6. I think round 7. And by round 7, Shakram's nose started bleeding on. It was turning red like a clown's nose. His face was mangled up so badly. And even coming after round 9, after the end of round 9 and such, the remainder of the fight was just so out of it. It just seemed like he had nothing left to point out for anything. It was a dominant fight, and even by round 10, during the championship rounds, there was moments in round 10. And I'm just going to go through this fight as quickly as I can because I want to get to the main event as quick as I can. But there was a moment in round 10, in 40 seconds left of the fight, where Jack sets up a right jab, and Shakram sets on a body punch downstairs. And out of nowhere, he goes forward. And as he goes forward to landing a punch downstairs, a right downstairs, Shakram throws a left, hits Jack right into the cheek. But then, because Jack was trying to protect himself from it while going forward as well, getting hit, he gets his right elbow right into Shakram, to his elbow, dropping Shakram down on the canvas. And of course, the referee, by the way, the referee's name, just to let you know, is Mark Nelson, not Lyson, Nelson. There's 2 Mark referees out there that are Mark, both British Marks. So keep that in mind. He calls it a slip. It wasn't a knockout. It was mostly an accidental elbow. But again, you could say to yourself that they should have maybe had a moment. Like, imagine if there was an elbow that would have hurt him there. And imagine if that would have been a DQ finish. That would have been shocking. Again, in the 11th round was a round. I actually did give shakram round 11 when he actually attacked him, Jack, in the last seconds of the round. There were moments that he was getting punched and he threw him and knocked him to the corner. And Jack set some punches, uppercuts, and then shakram decided to do this random whatchamacallit for some reason. It was, I didn't understand what shakram was doing. He gets sets up with 2 punches, a left and a right up downstairs, and then a right jab upstairs. And shakram decided to just start doing this and then just doing that during the end of the 11th round, which is kind of funny. Don't get me wrong. His face was mangled up broken, and he's starting to do this to give me more, even though he's losing the fight. He sets up as best he could to be the aggressor in the end of the round. It was a close 11th round, and I decided to give it to shakram, even though it might have not been his round, but I decided to be generous to him just for the heck of it. Of course, the scorecard would read 118 to 110. I did give Jack the final round of the fight. He was just hurting him so much. I'm surprised they let the fight continue, but shakram showed a lot of heart staying in that fight. Again, his face, his nose is pressed like this. Again, and by the way, every time you even see him getting punched, blood would just come out of his nose, which was around the second half of the fight. So it was a bloody fight war, but not bloodier than Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois, which makes me wonder, was there any tampering or glove tampering of the gloves by Daniel Dubois, which might have hurt Fabio Wardley's face the most? Did they take the padding out of the glove? We'll never know, because seeing how Jack Catterall hurt shakram so much, and shakram's face was broken, but not broken like Fabio Wardley's face. So that makes me question. Something's fishy. All in all, this fight, I will give this 12-round fight a 4 stars out of 5. It was another entertaining fight. I don't think there was one boring fight on this show. This shakram showed a lot of heart. The crowd did got bored during the second half of the fight, but they did come back tougher. And even the championship rounds did show moments that shakram was trying to come back. But getting that elbow in the 10th round from him, falling to the canvas, was bad enough. Anyway, for the WBO vacant super middleweight championship of the world, Alan Bejic versus Hamza Shiraz. This 39-year-old German fighter with 29-0-1 taking on 22-0-1 26-year-old Hamza Shiraz, who is an orthodox 6'3" fighter at 75-inch reach advantage. Well, Alan Bejic is 5'11.5", and it does show he has a reach of 73, but we don't know if he's an orthodox or a southpaw fighter in BoxRec. And of course, oh yeah, there was also another fighter on this show that didn't show us if he was... it doesn't matter. Technically, all we know is Shiraz is wearing white and gray, and we have white and green stripe for Bejic. And of course, Bejic leads off with the left foot, just like Shiraz. So technically, the more of the story is they're both orthodox fighters, so that's a good thing. The first round of the fight was just queer enough for Shiraz. There's moments they just shifted into second gear quickly in the first round because of it. Shiraz was putting out punches, but he was missing some good lefts at one moment. With 1 minute and 20 seconds left of the fight, Alan started attacking him, throwing punches back at him. So this 39-year-old fighter did come to fight as best he could. It's a world title on the line, for crying out loud, so it should be there. And he was pushing him into the first round so much that even though this is the co-main event, and this is around, like, it's almost 5 o'clock right now as we're coming in. So people are expecting this fight to go maybe 6 or so rounds of the fight. Not really, because the fight for the main event should start at 5:42 p.m. for the ring walk, but it would take us an extra 20 more minutes until that time comes, and the fight wouldn't start until 6:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So mostly, I'm just more interested on just seeing this fight go a good amount of the first half. Unfortunately, that didn't go the case for the Dodo Birds, but not everyone's perfect. Again, Alim did show out some good proof in the fight, but again, Shiraz was landing more punches. But again, it was a good fight. It was a good start for the first round of the fight, and out of nowhere, coming into the second round of the fight, 30 seconds into the fight, Alim is trying his best to shove in and trying to put some pressure into Shiraz for the punching that he's taken. It didn't work because we get a perfect left uppercut and another jab, punch, and hook by Shiraz, and it pushes him to the ropes. He sets up a multitude of left over and over and over again, pushes Bejic. Bejic backs up and then goes forward to do it again to shove him on and then push him on, and then goes for a right, left, and then Shiraz goes back again, goes out with a hook, left hook, uppercut there, hook back, punches him through with a left, pushes him to the ropes again. He pushes him to the neutral corner of the left, gives him a left, gives him a jab. Alim tries to go forward and pushes him again, shoves him again in with only a minute and 25 seconds left of the second round. We get a good left, right, a huge left, right, pushes him to the red corner, shoves him on. He throws out multitude of punches. And the referee, by the way, the referee's name is Louis Padden, which we know him very much due to the Usyk and Dubois fight. He's trying his best. He's in the fight. He's making sure nothing happens to him. And Shiraz, out of nowhere, throws these wild Deontay Wilder rights. And then he sets up a hook, goes on with a left, goes body, misses a left uppercut, and Alim tries to scare him off by scaring Shiraz off again. He goes forward again to the white neutral corner again. With 50 seconds left of the second round, he sets off a jab. He throws a left. He pushes him to the blue corner rope. Alim ducks a left, but the damage is already done to him. It's turning into a crazy battle. And Alim, even though Alim is not in the best performances as Shiraz is still fighting back. He throws a great left-right combination upstairs, being blocked by Shiraz, as always. But then Shiraz comes in and goes for an uppercut, left hook body shot, uppercut again. And as he goes for a left uppercut, left body shot, Alim sticks it, hits the canvas with one knee. Well, not one knee. He puts a glove down in the canvas. And as he does, he touches the canvas and then he lets go. He's doing it like this. Oh, he's counting his way through. The referee's making sure if he's going to be okay. But then he squats down again as the 5 count goes 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. He just can't handle it. Another body shot to end. Not by waving the fight by a TKO, but by a 10 count. Dude, body punches in this fight are so damn good. And you know what? This fight, I'm going to give this fight an 8 out of 10 because on paper it doesn't make a lot of sense to put a 39-year-old fighter that should not deserve to be in the ring like that, even though as a vacant title fight, I understand you have this opportunity that you might not get again. So I understand. So it's a good paper on story. And even though Alim Bejic is number 4, here's the problem. Shiraz is number 2 in the WBO, with Canelo being at number 1 as a mandatory. Jacob Bank from Denmark is number 3 with a 19-0 record. And he is a young kid that's won dominated fights over and over in his career. So it just doesn't make sense why they don't put him in it with Shiraz. But again, maybe they're just waiting for that opportunity. But they should have had it a long time ago. So Alim Bejic, again, only being ranked into the into the boxing of WBO, putting into this fight was different enough. But the fight itself, he did show a lot of heart, just throwing back punches. And even though Alan Bejic's boxing strategy was to go forward and then shove him, and then just trying to get back without no problem, without not clinching him, was a smart strategy. So the boxing style betwixt these two were pretty interesting in that right, which is why I also give it 4 stars out of 5. This fight went by the distance as it is. The crowd loved it. It was all what we wanted to see. A fight that ended without nothing to worry about. And you know what? This was just a great fight that showed a lot of heart. And it's not much of a 5-star match. And I wouldn't say it was a 3-star match, which it should be. But due to its outcome and the main event shows that we're looking forward to, yes, this fight might have been a lot more better of a fight than Jack Catterall and Shakram fight, even though I find that 12-round fight to be surprising because of the heart for the Ukrainian to show a lot of heart, even though him and his buddy Daniel Lapine didn't do a good job, leaving Alexander Usyk as the lone Ukrainian to finally get their revenge, to not be going back home defeated. So there's a lot of truth to that, which is the reason why I put these matches as 4-star matches more than they are, for a reason. There's just so much to it. Man, it's crazy. All right. After 1 hour and 16 minutes, we finally have it. Alexander Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven. I actually put $15 on the line here that Rico Verhoeven will win this fight by split decision. I do see that Alexander Usyk will try to go the distance or even try to hurt Rico as best he could, because Rico in kickboxing, they don't go long distances in fights because there's no 12 or 10 round fights as much in kickboxing. Neither, maybe 8 rounds, maybe just 5 rounds is mostly 6 rounds. So that right there does say a lot for what it is. So listening to our good old buddy, our good old friend of ours, Showbiz the adult has shown a lot. Showbiz boxing, him being there at the time was crazy. Seeing the crowd and how the performance is, the tower, the pyramids were glowing like crazy during the time of how the tower and the entire pyramids were glowing, and it was such a wild spectacle of craziness. They showed fireworks coming out and Rico Verhoeven walking to the stage in a ring walk. He uses right, he punches the ground and fireworks explode out of the arena. It was a great, wild show. Alexander Usyk comes out to the ring, just his normal good old theme song that he has come out before, walking to the ring. These ring walks were pretty damn good for what they were. Okay, so the fight. So with all due respect, this fight was a kicker. This fight was just on the cusp of just... It was a fight that never seen before into the opinions of everyone's eye, because I've seen a lot of great moments in boxing. So here's the thing. If Rico Verhoeven wins, IBF belts and other belts might be vacated away from Usyk, and Verhoeven could be the first boxer in history to become a world champion in any weight class, to become champion in 2 pro fights, which he could defeat Sensak Monsri and Vasily Lomachenko, which took them 3 professional fights to become world champion. Even though it took Vasily Lomachenko 252 days to become champion and I think it was 152 days, 252. Well, 241 days for the Thailand Muay Thai fighter in the 70s of Sangsak, which took him 3 pro fights to win and still break the record for 243 days. So Rico Verhoeven can break the record of 2 pro fights to become champion, 2 pro fights. The first rounds of the fight were just easy starters. Rico comes in without hesitation. And by the way, reports were talking in that Usyk coming in at 233 and a quarter pounds, while Verhoeven was 258 and a 3/4, might have been a huge factor of the fight. With Usyk being 39 years old and Verhoeven 37 years old as an orthodox fighter with Southpaw Usyk, and Verhoeven at 6'5" and 6'3" for Usyk. Both of them are 70 inch reach advantage. Well, Verhoeven, he's an extra half inch. So, all in all, it is pretty interesting for what it is. The first rounds of the fight were just utter chaos because Verhoeven just came in. He just settled on the score. It was almost similar, like, watching the fight is almost similar like watching Floyd Mayweather defeating our MMA fighter in 2017, which is crazy because it's funny. It really is funny to talk about it because Conor McGregor was in the first few rounds of the fight, and Floyd Mayweather had problems of getting inside to the fight. And that was the first time Mayweather had to jump in the shift to choose a new boxing style just to beat Conor McGregor up when Conor messed him up in the early fights of the round. And Mayweather had to change up his boxing stance that he hasn't done before and to win that 50th pro fight, which is crazy. There was a moment in round 1 where during the last minute of the fight, Verhoeven, again, these are 2 big guys, and 6'5", 6'3", and 230 pounds. It's crazy. Again, the first few rounds of the fight was just Verhoeven, and Verhoeven was ducking through as best he could. Yes, Usyk was throwing punches, and even though Usyk's body was more bigger, Usyk was a big man, and the first 3 rounds were just Rico coming in. And even though Usyk was attacking off Verhoeven, even around parts of the round, from 1 a little bit to 2, and even the 3rd round and so. And again, he was getting pushed to the ropes, flanking every single punch he threw. In round 4 was the scariest moment where Usyk came in, and as Rico started throwing out huge combinations to Usyk, and that upsetted Usyk because when he got hit, Usyk came back and flustered him so much in the 4th round. It might have been the better round for Usyk in the entire fight up to that point in round 4. Round 5 was another round that he did come back, and it looked like a Verhoeven. Like Verhoeven had moments in the 5th round as well. It was tough for me to guess. But Usyk, in my opinion, might have had round 5 in the bag. Again, the punching, the abilities, the work, and again, like Usyk and his body and how he was weighing at the time were pretty tough enough to understand how well built he was for his tiredness. Again, 39-year-old Usyk and 37-year-old Verhoeven, these are 2 guys that are past their prime. So anything could happen against these 2 past prime fighters. It's crazy. Again, Verhoeven, and again, being a heavyweight boxer past the age of 35 years old, the odds of a 35-year-old boxer to become heavyweight champion is so hard in today's world. Even back then was tough as well. So you got to understand how hard it is for boxers at over 35 years old to become champions. So, and Verhoeven, that's a pretty interesting case for him. Again, he came in, and by round 6, when Usyk managed to find a leverage point at some time, because round 6 was a moment where there was there was some bites coming in at the time because round 6 kind of questioned me a little bit, because looking back at it right now, it is crazy because round 6 definitely it was a Verhoeven round more than an Usyk, while round 7 was still a hard round for me to give. So looking back at it, I do see Verhoeven now, in my opinion, winning round 6 a lot more than ever, which I didn't see that clearly, but watching the fight back again is a lot interesting. Round 7 was a confusing round where it seemed like it was legit. There were clinches and moments for Usyk, and Usyk, he was tired, but again, Verhoeven didn't do a lot he did do stuff in the round, just like Usyk was. So the 7th round did confuse me a little bit for it. So I did believe that there were moments for Usyk barely in the 7th round. So I kind of did had Usyk winning round 7. Looking back at it right now, I still do question that. This fight was so hard for me to judge. But round 8, round 9, and round 10 were definite rounds for me to give. Because in round 8, Verhoeven just steps in and finally is putting in punch combinations. He did rock Usyk at 1 minute of that round, and he just starts putting in lateral huge punches. And these rounds were more clear for who was winning the fight. Usyk is not bald, his hair is sweating, and Usyk did attack him during the final seconds of the 8th round, and then Verhoeven turns around to 180 and then starts shoving him into the ropes. And the referee, Mark Lyson, even gives him a warning for that, to not do that. And then in round 9, Verhoeven was just on fire. He was outboxing Usyk. He was putting in all the leverage. And now looking back at it, yeah, he was definitely winning the fight. He had winning 6 rounds after that fight, so which was not what I saw at the time. I saw him winning 5 rounds, but no, now looking back at it, I do see 6 rounds. But then all of a sudden, Usyk comes in at round 10, and out of nowhere, I don't know why Rico Verhoeven wasn't taking it easy, because Rico Verhoeven should have noticed, and I'm sure he did, and I'm sure Peter Fury, because again, Peter Fury was at ringside working and training Verhoeven to fight Usyk, so he was helping Verhoeven in the fight at all times. But I couldn't say that he was much of a help, but this fight was there for him. Again, in round 10, again, training for 6 months in boxing is crazy, for all means respectively. Again, round 10, Usyk was finally finding some leverage as best he could. But again, Usyk is that dangerous. When you put him in the championship rounds of after 9 rounds, and then you put him in round 10, 11, 12, he's going to hurt you no matter what. And he's going to bash you up. And that's what Usyk does. Even though Usyk was getting tired in this fight, which was the toughest of his career, in my opinion, he manages to win round 10 easily. And then round 11, Verhoeven was just hurting Usyk so badly with only 30 seconds left of the 11th round. I didn't know if he was going to handle it. But then out of nowhere, Usyk comes in, 30 seconds left of the 11th round. Verhoeven misses a right. He loses his balance. And by the way, Usyk even loses his balance in parts of the fight as well, if I didn't mention that before. And Usyk sets up a perfect left uppercut and sets up a few more other small jabs. Verhoeven is keeping his body down low while throwing jabs to stay away. And as he's throwing punches without not even doing nothing but not protecting himself, Usyk throws a perfect left and then sets up this disgusting right uppercut right into the jawline of Verhoeven, setting him down to the canvas and even almost crotched Usyk with his head. He does get back up at the count of 5. And again, the facial reactions are crazy. So at this moment, Usyk has a 10-8 score. If he wins the last round, then I have it 114 to 113 for Usyk, which means Verhoeven is done. He gets back up on 10 seconds left of the fight, and without hesitation, I was really confused because Usyk walks forward and then he walks back. Again, the fight continued, and as they do it, and by the way, he even spits out his mouthpiece. The mouthpiece spits out. There was a moment where Verhoeven spits out the mouthpiece, and that might have been a smart strategy for Verhoeven because I'm sure they knew that the round was over, and so he spits the mouthpiece out. Referee gives it to Verhoeven's trainer or someone. And he even tries to put the mouthpiece back in his mouth, but then it slips out of his hand at one point, but he recovers it, which maybe he shouldn't have because it should have given him a little bit more energy to get out of the 11th round. But he gives him the mouthpiece, which might have been a smart strategy for Verhoeven. Even the referee, Mark Leisen, gets on. They finally get into it. They grab hands, continue, but Usyk, for reasons why Verhoeven decided to back away, was actually the reason for the stoppage. He gets punched, he throws out left, he gets knocked down with an equilibrium, gets another heavy left punch, hurts him, he's throwing multitude of punches, slamming him so much, and Mark Leisen stops it with 1 second left of the fight. And even Verhoeven's trainer gets out of the ring and is upset about what was that, ref. He's upset, he's crazy. The fight is over at 2 minutes and 59 seconds of the 11th round, meaning, and by the way, two of the judges' scorecards, which I had agreed with as well, had it 95 even, and one judge had it 96 to 94 for Verhoeven, which means that if they did come into the 12th round, technically, even if Verhoeven did come out of the 12th round and survived and won the round, the fight was over. And it would have went split decision victory for Usyk. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter. The fight was over either way. But again, was Verhoeven going to get killed in the 12th and final round if Mark Leisen didn't stop the fight? Again, this is Mark Leisen. We're talking about a guy that might have done some crazy stuff. But again, when it comes to referee incompetence, I'm just tired of talking about that. This fight, I give this fight, due to the controversy and all the craziness, this fight almost, dude, if Office Honcho Boxing doesn't put out part 3 of Cherry Picking Gone Wrong, and he doesn't put this one in the list, you'll be crazy to not talk about it. I give this match oh boy. I will say this though. I wish the fight gone the distance. The fight itself got controversial. So I'm going to give this fight a 9 out of 10. Even though this might have been fight of the night. But the performance of the night, I can almost say goes to a little bit of maybe Jack Catterall or Mizuki Hiruda. But again, not Rico Verhoeven or Usyk. It was a close fight for each, but it's hard to know who performance of the night is. Knockout of the night would have to go to Frank Sanchez. But if you're talking about preliminary fight of the night, that's definitely Sultan defeating the Indonesian fighter in the first round. Perfect knockout win there. Body punches and hooks. This entire fight became a wild career of wins and knockouts. And that's what makes this fight awesome. But you know what? At the end of the day, this fight had everything. It had some controversy. It had moments. It had wins. It had some upset moments. This had wild finishes of quick knockouts. And you know what? The performances were there for some. All 9 of these pro fights on DAZN Boxing pay-per-view, from preliminaries to the co-main event to the fight cards of the semi-main events, were all there. And that's all I have to say about this show. After 1 hour and 34 minutes of recording this, I'm happy to say thank you for watching this episode because I'm tired. Oh boy. But you know what? What really upsets me is that even though I lost this fight against Usyk, means that my entire YouTube channel of Foxwolf is no more. But that's not going to stop me from uploading my 100th episode of the VTubers Hunger Game video. So with only one video to go, I am going to try to record that. I'm already fixing on recording that tomorrow. And if I ever upload it I'm going to upload it. I might as well upload, well, you know what? I'm thinking of uploading this Gloat podcast on the 25th. And then on Wednesday, I'll get the last Hunger Game video on Wednesday. So yeah, I know it's taken me a while to get these videos up, but you know what? I'm happy that we're getting it done. I'm happy that I'm finally happy. You know what? Even though I accepted the bet from the guy that told me to, if I don't win this fight, I'll delete the YouTube channel. And even though I barely almost got my prediction correct because of this. So it just goes to show you craziness could happen anytime soon. And I almost won my $15. I lost $15, but you know what? It's better than losing $10,000 like Blitz did when he loses money like crazy. But still, it is what it is. So thank you, viewers, for watching this 25th episode of Hunger Game of Mr. Gloat podcast. But in the next 25 episodes of episode 50, I am going to try to do some new artwork, thumbnails, because for the next 50 other episodes, I am thinking about recording 50 episodes or even 100 episodes of Mr. Gloat podcast and thumbnails of just normal black and white footages and such and images, just random non-thumbnails. I'm thinking about working on new thumbnails and other things to work on when it comes to animation style, just like the Deadlock podcast do on their sites when they're doing animation and just normal art style thumbnails for their content. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see how good that works out for you fans. But with that being said, we'll see you guys next time in the month of June, maybe. I am going to take some time off, but next time, even though we already got rid of everything else here, we do got Jake Paul next week in the promotional fight. So we'll see what happens next time. Congratulations to all the winners of the show. And with that being said, we'll see you next time. See ya.